The closing of the Bank of Kiowa was a detriment to the community, but Jan Wilson's loss of employment was a life-changing accession to a new trajectory. Enrolling at Pratt Community College to acquire an Associates of Science nursing degree with the goal of becoming a RN, Gary was totally committed to his wife's ambition. But several obstacles were manifested, mainly regarding finances. The tuition, fees, books could be reconciled with the application of a Pell Grant and student loan. But the most prevalent encumbrance would be of addressing Jen's transportation means for the 106-mile round trips to Pratt, especially during the adversity of winter. Gary, pondering for a solution, realizing that Jen's gas-guzzling New Yorker would have to go, and at the same time desiring to rid himself of the ill-fated Ford van. Being the lone wage earner since the bank's closing, although Jen had visited with the director of nurses Sharon Reagan, working part-time as a nurse's aide at the hospital, Gary was having some doubts about getting a loan approval to finance a car for Jan. For the very first time he approached his father in California, explaining Jen's desire to become an RN, the family's financial shortcomings, including her transportation needs. The elder Wilson didn't hesitate. Gary could hear it in his voice. The prospects of having an RN in the family meant his approval. His dad posting a check doubling the amount Gary thought sufficient, and when sending back the excess amount, his father tore up his check. The Murrow family still questioning their daughter's adjudication. It was Jen who first prompted Gary's attention to a 1982 red four-wheel drive SR5 Toyota Tercel wagon stationed at the corner of Bill Bogner's Main Street dealership. Gary wasn't enthralled about Jen's choice, but agreeing to test drive the Tercel. The couple driving east of town, discerning a slight grinding sound oscillating from the rear wheels. Gary suggesting they look at Bogner's other automobile endeavors at the old Jack's Ford establishment that Bill had purchased when Steve Miller relinquished all his Kiowa service properties. Gary having already spotted a small four-wheel drive, four-speed Isuzu pickup, branded as a Chevrolet that had been traded in by Brad Ott. Gary having inquired with Brad as to its condition and reason for trading, Brad confirming the pickup was in good condition and the reason for trading was his desire for a larger pickup. Gary could see Jen's heart was set on the red Toyota, deciding to approach Bill about a dual trade. The New Yorker and Ford van for the Tercel and the Isuzu, with the provision that the possible wheel bearing problems would be alleviated. The trade-in agreement was consummated, Jen's school transportation accomplished, the couple both now suited with four-wheel drive vehicles. The family was visiting the Murrows, Gary stepping outside briefly to retrieve his ambulance radio from the car, noticing smoke rising from what appeared to be downtown Kiowa, remarking as he entered the house, "There must be a fire downtown." No sounding of a fire siren is customary in the past. The volunteer fire service recently making a decision to no longer alert the citizens when they were called. The fire department appropriated funds to equip each member with a radio. The family continuing with their visit, Gary once again departing outside, questioning what he had seen earlier, a concern starting to materialize with the continuing rising presence of a billowing black smoke cloud. They soon joined him in observing the display. The curiosity was too much, deciding to appraise the situation, driving the short distance, discovering the Kiowa Fire Department on the scene at Bogner Chevrolet. Gary noticing that they had yet to block off Main Street, and it appeared the fire was in the basement automotive service area, and from the amount of smoke that cars might be engulfed. He watched as Bill Duval retreated up from the flame ridden below ground level, emerging out of the smoke, giving notice to the others the possibility of an explosion and that they would have to approach cautiously. Gary returning to the Murrow residence, going to the kitchen sink for a glass of water, discovering almost no water pressure, giving evidence of his apparition. the family starting to realize the seriousness of the situation and a reason for concern. Gary's ambulance radio echoed a call, not a medical application, but a station call for the ambulance to be employed at the fire scene in readiness. The fire having grown intense, its effulgence broadcasting skywards, casting an increasing glow on the horizon in the diminishing light as darkness began to prevail, and reportedly could be seen from the aspects of Alva and Anthony 30 miles away. The inferno consuming Bogner Automotive, spreading east to the adjoining buildings on the south side of Main Street, continuing its havoc, spreading to the building with the second-floor Masonic Lodge. The congruous structure and emblematic town fixture, a personal concern for some of the citizens as they watched the building and artifacts, historic in nature, being engulfed in flames. The fire continued seemingly unabated, its flames reaching ascendancy, a call for additional assistance being extended to the other townships, Medicine Lodge, Anthony, and Alva, Oklahoma answering the call. Kiowa was soon without water pressure, the local residents finding a trickle in their faucets, the water tower supply being prostrate. The arrival of tanker trucks from the outlying communities began resourcing the extraction of water from the Medicine River and journeys to the local farm ponds to supply the much-needed inhibitor. The battle line of resolution was drawn at Gamble's hardware store, the firefighter struggling, a ladder truck from Alva arriving, conveying its affluent stream of water from a higher elevation, preventing a breach of the building's firewall. The pyre was halted, the combatants finally staying the fire carnage, Bogner's Main Street Chevrolet Buick, the Masonic Lodge and others a loss, Gamble's surviving with smoke damage. A consensus, the town was blessed. The normally strong Kansas winds were silent that night. Omniscience was contemporaneous in the Kiowa community.